Okay, welcome back. I'm trying a couple of things out visually, so bear with me as I experiment just a little bit with these things. And before I start talking about the message from in between this week, just a friendly reminder to relax. Let the day settle, or fade if you like. Maybe like a staticky radio signal of old and turn the volume down. And whatever the noises, distractions that might be going on at this very moment, we can acknowledge them and ignore, or rather redirect our focus. Now, there may be barks in this episode, this session. I do have a friend visiting who has a lot to say. So now that we've got our corgi blessing out of the way, let me steer my head back on track. I'm not going to plant, if this visual is hurting anybody's eyes, it will not be there the whole time. Like I said, experimenting with your art is a blessing. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for participating. Thanks for giving yourself permission to imagine, to mend, to do whatever you and your subconscious decide is the thing that you need to do. And I think the thing to do is relax as best we can. As we carve a little moment out of this flow through time and space, I hope these little sessions are positive moments of escapism for you, whenever and wherever you might need them. And these visualization games help strengthen the connection, the language you're developing between your subconscious and your conscious minds. And the more you develop that muscle, that could also lead ultimately, I guess, to discernment once again. It was part of the come-throughs to say, hey, don't get lost in the wind. Even though it is very windy where I am, and it calls to me through the walls. Maybe air is coming through tonight, and we'll talk about that later. Sorry for the informal dance through the tulips and back. I'll get better at these intros. I swear I will. But hopefully, while I'm rambling, you're relaxing. I'm providing suggestions and holding space for you to do the work that you need to do, self-work. But also, like I said before, for some feel-good, positive escapism. And how relaxed and can you make your breath in this moment? We're using that word a lot. Relax, 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 because it often takes a couple of recitations for relax to sink in and start working. That's sort of a command code button. Hopefully you're in a safe, comfy spot. If not, may you find one soon. And keep the awareness checking in on the breath, letting it become smoother and deeper, more pleasurable if you would like. And as you do, I'll read the message part of the message from in between this week. This is a psychic sleep for magical support throughout the day. Spring is whispers away in the northern hemisphere. Ready for the seasonal shift? Because it's already happening. It happens physically and energetically. Shaking off the winter can be like shaking off trauma. Looking backwards to inform the future, it's not the same thing as clinging on to the past. Bits of unresolved karmas stick to the walls of the spirit. Most of the walls are the walls you've built yourself. Oh, overcomplicating things comes easy, so keep everything simple. It may be time for magical thinking as a coping mechanism. If you're hearing magic's call, ceremonial, organic, whichever flavor gets you to tend to the state of your internal astral support network. How would you weave a little magical support throughout the day? This week's 3-card draw is the Five of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Three of Pentacles, inviting us to consider A. Squabbles. B. When you need to be sharp. And C. Secret sauces stay secret and progress marches on. And circle back to how could you weave a little magical support throughout the day? And the myriad of answers, really, but one of them became glaring for me is incorporating some elemental check-ins, which are always fun. Say we start with Earth. Earth, synonymous with the ground. I like to imagine leafy green things with strong roots. But right there we have the metaphor for grow. Planting seeds in the earth harvest many, many, many facets of what we can call earth energies. And so perhaps there might be a time in which makes kind of funnier even in the actual windstorm that is going on, how nice it would be to have roots as you walk, to be rooted as you walk and not be ripping them, but be solidly connected, consensually connected to the earth in a way that no wind could knock you over. Maybe feeling the energy from below help to soothe, like a nice dark room and a cozy blanket. Where could you use a touch in with this energy throughout your day? Might there be an opportunity for you to stay grounded, to earth yourself, to grow, to blossom? Looking through this lens of the element of earth, the essence of the element. I always think it's pretty cool how, of all the sort of four traditional elements, earth has all the elements in it, or at least earth, our planet, in that elemental sense does. And maybe you could see the advantage of not feeling like you're going to fly off the earth at any moment. That is something the ground can help with. Perhaps there might be a time in the near future where you might feel like the situation will put you off foot. And you could do with that connection, that stability, that immobility, like a giant stone not to be moved. And perhaps we should have done this before, but where in the day could you have used a little more earth energy? A little more putting on the earth goggles? Where it might have been nice to be like a rock and let things just bounce right off of you. Maybe you could then see a point in the near future where looking through this lens helps you deal with that and that moment. Right? That's the game we're playing with the elements as we one of the many games we play, and they play with us. Okay. We'll do a couple more. But we'll change in case there are not that many Earth fans in the audience at this point. Still, each of them could be useful to varying degrees in whatever you might be holding on to in your mind. And the next, yogically up the spine, is a water element. And water is so often associated with feelings and emotions. Water covers most of this planet. Without water, we would not be. As in, it's not something you can do without. Or rather, regular people. I'm sure there's superhero paradoxes out there and all kinds of things. But water flows and emotions flow. Water has depth and speaks to those depths in a similar way that Earth does, which is traditionally associated to the feminine. Sorry, I got caught up in a I was like, no value judgments. I'm not. I got deep into the waters of my mind. Ooh, this is a pretty one that I haven't used in a while. Think of your mind like a koi pond, and the fish that come to the surface are your thoughts, and you watch them come to the surface, the front of the mind, and then go back on, off, and through the water. Floating down a lazy river. The waves of the ocean, the sounds of the waterfall. Finding your favorite form of water in your mind and just vibe with it for a moment and let its essence speak to you. Did you go for ice? Did you go for mist? A lake, a pool, or the rain? Which water came to mind when you were prompted? And there might be insight And this is a moment where the subconscious could be speaking back to you and helping strengthen that common language. Maybe the type of water has something to say about what would help you right now the most. Being cold as ice, hot and steamy. Were you a glass of water? So nourishment. That's a fun way we can check in with the elements from time to time as well. Just casting our mind out in that direction. Letting that go. Letting the koi pond go. The next element up is fire. And we can check in with our fire in lots of metaphorical ways. How driven would you say you feel at this moment? Fire, fiery, spicy, but fire. How warm do you feel at this minute, at this moment? Fire shows up as temperature in the body. When we're looking at it through that lens, you have digestive fires. How well are your fires doing? Have you been digesting everything as well as you should, as in hopefully not noticed any changes? Also, have your cravings changed recently? Are they shifting as you're changing fuels? And fire is transformative. Turns one thing into another. Wood into ash. Fire into cooked food. There's also feeling a blaze, that or a tingly sensation. Feeling charged up, dynamic. Before I said cooking and fire, what was the fire in your mind? What kind? Was it a little personal fire, a huge bonfire? Something left over by some kaiju? And how still was the flame? Let's take a moment to hold the flame in our mind's eye. or holding the flame in the mind's eye and just observing it. More than likely, it's flickering. If it's not moving very much, excellent, because that's the direction we're headed in. We are headed towards that still flame. But first, let's feed it something crazy that we're done with and we're over in our minds. It's taking up space. And we're done with it. It no longer serves us. Think grand. That could be acting small. It could be revelatory, or it could be comedic. Up to you. Toss what you don't need onto that fire. Watch it blaze. Watch it transform. What you have thrown into it. Letting whatever you let go of be completely burned up. Feeling a bittersweet relief in that, perhaps. If not, that's okay as well. And eventually, that flame will grow still. You may have already experimented syncing your breath up with the flame. And some of our fire-friendly friends may be throwing even more onto the fire to feel the lightning that can come with letting go of past moments that we have been clinging to. You are in control of what goes on in the mindscape, so if it did become a forest fire just to burn all of the things you needed to burn, that's fine, but bring it back down. Fire doesn't have to spread into town unless you're scorched earth policy, dragon-like, attending to things. And noticing the temperature of the body now is the same as it was. Has it changed since you had last paid attention to it? Noticing as that flame starts to become steady, so too can you kind of feel things internally settling, unlocking new levels of relaxation and bliss if we go far enough. But we're checking in with our elements. Fire had a lot to say. But fire heats up the air, and makes it move. And that is our next element, the essence. In the night, I swear to you, the wind just picked up audibly as I mentioned it. It's going to be funny to future me listening to past me appreciating the windstorm and still trying to channel the yoga, right? Hopefully for our highest good, in line with your highest good, our highest good. Air, loftiness. Air is where the flying things are. Where does air begin and your breath stop? Where does your breath stop and air begin? We are all connected by the fact that we breathe air. Or at least I'm assuming. No offense to those species that may interact with this at some point along the timelines. The feeling of flying is spectacular in real life and in the dreamscape. Another thing we all participate with. And air fills sails, encouraging exploration and adventure, progress and movement. Playful like a breeze. It's all around us, it's inside of us. And the breath, oh, yogically, the breath is so important. The breath, the air, the wind, the whistle. Woodwinds. Wind gives us music. Each element has their own soundtrack, though. Air is spacious. Air is not heavy. Air is light. Things float in the air. They float on water. Not so much on fire. Little fire wisps. Maybe those little wisps you see are lifting up into the night sky, and that is the air. And the air we breathe only reaches so far up. For beyond that is space, and funny enough, that's the next element too, but let's come back to air, as it wants to breeze on by. Let it fill our sails. Where might a easy and breezy attitude help you in the upcoming future? Or another aspect of the element of air. Communication relies on air. songs are sung. That takes air and breath control. And so back to the breath. In fact, that's commonly my advice. If you find yourself lost and drifting, find your breath, find your body, find your practice. And the air has brought the rain here. Also, air erodes just like water does. To different degrees, of course. Where where might a sandblaster be something good? A tool that you could comically use to address those hard problems, those ones that don't want to move. Can be ground down, buffed down, sanded. Or like dandelion fluff flying in the air. If you could put a seed into the air for yourself and for others, what would that seed be? Would it be a seed of peace that you would like to see blossom somewhere? Or go somewhere where maybe you don't ever get to see it? You just know it will. A little airborne seed of humor, of hope. And funny enough, whatever you really actually need for yourself, you can bet that other people need that too. So, where in the day might visualizing the wind helping you move forward, help you breeze through something that you don't want to do but have to, or whatever framework you put around that? Where might the air show up and help you? Where might it be good in the near future to pause and take a breath? And letting the sound of the breeze go, letting it carry you off into our final element this evening. There are more. But we're moving on to Akash, to space, ether, quintessence, so many ephemeral names, oddly appropriate considering what we're talking about. But it is said that the other elements play on the field, play on the stage of Akash. Akasha is infinite in them in and of themselves when you think of Chitakash, the mind space, or Hridayakash, the heart space. Right? Your your room is technically a space. It contains your essence in a way. Right? It is the field upon which you act out your life. And because it's a little out there, it's a little hard to uh, tether it back to something tangible and simple. But for a moment, let's just pause in the mystery of it. Just thinking of a field of mystery, a field of magic, quintessence, whatever you want to do with this uh, becoming one with the force, right? Uh, just feel what's on the outside of your thoughts. And feeling this to whatever degree, taking a moment to think about interconnectedness, commonalities, common threads, thoughts, discussions, people, places, all the nouns. And that even in this day and age, there still is the understanding of mystery, of something being mysterious. It's we don't know, and we're kind of open to what it is, and we're kind of not. Also, teachers hold space for their students. Good teachers. And heck, with the door. Well, let's not get political. All right. Thank you to those that are patient and, and can teach us patience as we watch you walk your road. Sorry, a little blessing needed to come through. But yeah, space. And all the metaphysical peeps try to be like, it's not actual space, but think about it. Actual space is infinite in all directions, as far as we know. What we do agree on is that it's so far away that we couldn't reach it if we set out to try. And when you put infinities into the equation, anything's possible. And so it's that moment. I think bringing it back down into a little more applicable synchronicity. Something happens and you know that it's happening for another reason. I like to call synchronicities choices you ascribe meaning to. So it's a wide open door. So where could you use a bit of synchronicity and maybe even a bit of serendipity? Suddenly feeling amazing would be a mysterious thing. What if it happened? And that's it as well. What if? Just a willingness, an openness, a spaciousness. And so where could we use this in the days ahead? Where might we want to sit at the center of everything? Because everything is the center of everything. In a way, the room to play out. Where might we hold space for someone else? Allowing them just to vent or tell their tale or share their adventure. And the listener, when you ask yourself, who is that I hear talking in my mind? Who's listening to that? In a way, it invites us into being a part of a bigger picture. And I could see that being useful in the days ahead in different ways. To feel tapped into something bigger, not in an overwhelming way and not in a cripplingly over-responsible kind of way. I like to overcomplicate things. But just openness. How might you act differently going into a situation having taken a moment to just reconnect yourself on a bigger scale? And I think that's pretty magical. I think we've considered magic throughout the day, throughout the near and upcoming future. Doing a little bit of future pacing of putting them there. And before I wax on and just completely indulge myself, I'm going to scale it back and say, if you were joining us to drift off to sleep after, to use this for insomnia, blessings on your way, and may your journey into the lands of slumber be peaceful and restful. And you can see, if you were to take yourself back through these steps, these considerations, just picking one, doing all five, or any combination, just that reconnecting back in to that inner resourcefulness, that's valuable. All right, friends that need to come back out of the state that they've achieved, find your breath. Use that breath to find your body. Take your awareness to the sensation at your nostrils as you breathe in. and perhaps how it feels warmer on the way back out. Another breath in, filling up, exhaling, letting go, and inhaling, finding yourself back in your body, all the way back in your physical body, in the right here and right now, letting life return to the limbs as you wiggle the toes, wiggle the fingers, maybe rock the neck a little bit, or wiggle the face. Inhabiting the vessel again. Be kind to yourself over the next little bit as you come all the way back out and carry on with the rest of your day, the rest of your week. I hope it is all the things that you wanted and needed. And thank you for participating. Oh, I forgot. Look at me. There was supposed to be the fire with a little waveform. Oh, well. I was just feeling the flow. Yeah. Thanks for participating with this whenever and wherever you do. And if you liked it, there's a bunch of things you could do. You could like it, and that's plenty, or comment, and that's plenty. Or what? Share, subscribe by either of those. That's all good too. And if you're the donatey kind, then you could go to santosdavid333.com and donate there to help keep this little project going. I hope it is helpful to you in many, 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 many ways. Hariom Tatsat, my friends. This has been a session of Psychic Sleep with Santosh. Feel good. Feel well. Be happy.